Oh, good morning. We're still morning. Nice. Nine more minutes. Nice. Guys, this morning we did it. 2 services. It's the first time in our South Campus history. It's awesome. Amazing. So good. I'm so glad you guys are here with us this morning. Easter is such a special time. While I'm talking, you can turn to Luke chapter 23. We're going to be reading out of there this morning. But it's great to have moments where we kind of pause the normal rhythm of things and like refocus, recalibrate ourselves. Our sort of culture nowadays doesn't really have the same sort of gathering around feasts or festivals like back in the day. Like the Jewish community, there's like several times throughout the year where everything kind of just stops in life and they gather together around a particular theme or a particular idea. And it's really powerful. If you study through those, they tell like an incredible, beautiful story of God and his purpose and plan and provision, all these different really cool things. But times like Easter or Christmas, or sometimes we do like conferences and things like that. Those moments for me are really important, where I pause some of the busyness and the routine of life to come back and actually like refocus, kind of recalibrate. All the extra things this morning, if you were stressed this morning, trying to deal with kids, get out the door, all the different things, our home is a little less stressful now that our kid's a little older, but boy, let me tell you what, 4 kids when they were all little, my heart is still with all the parents with young kids, you know what I'm saying, on mornings like today. So anyways, awesome. Luke chapter 23, this year's sort of theme is He is. It's a powerful statement. We're going to keep coming back to this. If you go to the Old Testament, Moses is in the desert. The children of Israel are enslaved in Egypt at the time. And Moses is there, and he passes by the burning bush. How many of you guys are kind of familiar with hearing that story? And he asks it stops. He's like, he hears this voice coming out of this burning bush, and he turns aside and, take your shoes off because this is holy ground, this really crazy moment. And, God gives him this command and this directive, and he's like, what do I call you? Who are you, God of the universe? He's having this moment. And God's response back, at that moment is, I am. And it's, I always hear Prince of Egypt, I am. And it's like this deep, billowing voice, When I was a kid, though, and I heard that, or as a teenager, throughout the years, it was actually really, troubling for me, very frustrating, because I'm like, how more unclear could have been? Out of all of the things he could have said, Moses is about to lead the deliverance of a nation. He's about to go in. He's about to raise the banner of the God of I am. Okay, that's not very impressive. You know what I'm saying? About to go into Egypt with all these different gods, the God of war, the God of this, and all these different things. And he's like, what do I call you? What's your name, your official title? And, as I've gotten older and I've gone through a lot of different things, it's fascinating where you start to kind of just, your understanding of it grows. But the truth is that the reason why God said that there, and then Jesus echoes it again in the book of John several times, but in one in particular, I think it's John 8. And he responds, right? There's this big debate. The Pharisees are there. They're going back and forth. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, before Abraham was, I am. And it was a statement that pulls back. That at that point, that's when they freak out and they're about to stone Jesus. It's this pivotal moment in his story. But it's specifically because it was the name that God used to identify himself. And why is that name so special? Is because the truth is everything that you experience out of God, it's rooted in his identity. It's not something he's doing for you. It's not a gift that he's giving. It's not something he's trying to conjure up to fix your circumstances or to fix your situation. It's because he is this. I need forgiveness. Well, guess what? He is forgiveness. He's not trying to find a way to forgive you. This is who he is. You need healing, you need breakthrough, you need deliverance. Like that is fundamentally fundamentally, like that was weird the way I said that. Fundamentally, that is who he is. And I think one of the incredible components of why this is so powerful is you begin to live life. There's circumstances, there's different things you're going through. And who he is, God is inviting you into partaking of him, not just receiving a gift or a solution. Like God is actually looking for relationship with us. And what we engage with, what we get to experience from him, it's because of who he is. It's like this is his nature, not that he's going to try to do something for us because we're his people and he's going to fix this thing or do this thing or all of those sort of external expressions. It's we get him. And when we have him in that place, well, then there's, wow, I get to experience faithfulness. And I get to see what goodness looks like. I get to not just receive forgiveness, but I get to experience forgiveness as part of this thing where God comes in and I experience the nature of God. And I think it's important that like we live a lot of our life in sort of a transactional sort of way. And God's heart is relationship. It is relationship. And we're going to kind of tie that into what we're going to read here in just a moment. So why don't you guys, we're going to start in verse 32. This is sort of mid-crucifixion. This is the mid-story where we're going to jump in. It says this, there were also two others, criminals led with him to be put to death. Excuse me. And when they had come to the place called Calvary, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. I love this, that like at the heart of this crucifixion, at the heart, like just the worst of the worst circumstances, Jesus has been beaten, he's bloodied, he's tormented, all of these different things. And even in that position, he can't help release forgiveness because it's who he is. Like he can't separate like this thing. He doesn't have to conjure up forgiveness. It flows out of his nature in that moment. And I think we forget this, that like how intense this moment was. I don't feel the need this morning to be like graphically like descriptive of the situation. You can go rewatch The Passion of the Christ and understand that they actually had to dumb down some of the graphic nature of that movie. Did you guys know that when they made that? They filmed it and then to actually, this sounds crazy, but to get it to qualify for a rated R movie, he had to remove how graphic some of the scenes were of like, and they still, according to historical text, like they still didn't quite get close enough to what Jesus would have actually experienced in the crucifixion. And we're talking in that sort of context. Still, the cry from his heart is, God, don't hold this against them. They don't even realize what they're doing or what's happening. And you keep reading, right? It doesn't stop there. It keeps reading. It says, and then they divided his garments and cast lots. And the people stood looking on. But even the rulers with them sneered, saying, he saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Christ, the chosen of God. Man, people do like to bandwagon accusation, don't they? The soldiers also mocked him, coming and offering him sour wine and saying, if you're the king of the Jews, save yourself. And an inscription also was written over him in the letters of Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. Then one of the criminals who were hanging beside him blasphemed him, saying, if you are the Christ, save yourself and us. I mean, it's just like the way that Luke sort of describes this is it's just like, it just continues one after another. Like he's in the middle of being crucified and his heart is just pouring out forgiveness to people. And it's like their people are gathering around, they're sneering, and leaders are there, they're mocking him. The soldiers, they're there mocking him. And then the dude hanging next to him is also mocking him. It's just like, you know, my wife left me, my kids left me, and my dog left me too. You know, it's like, I was going to say, it's the worst of the worst country song. Come on, don't steal my jokes, Matt. Listen. It's interesting how we can go through circumstances that are really hard, really difficult. And in that moment, we hear about God. Maybe someone calls you, texts you, like, hey, I'll be praying for you. Like, oh, you're going to be praying for me? Really? If God's so good, then why is this happening? And we tend to externalize what we're going through as, and we sort of hold God to the test of our circumstances. God, prove yourself to me. When we realize that God flows out of his identity, he has nothing to prove to anyone. He doesn't have to prove his goodness to you because he is goodness. He doesn't have to prove it to you or to me, to Satan, to the angels. He doesn't have to prove it at all because he is goodness. It's really fascinating when you go back and you look at the beginning of Luke chapter 4, Luke chapter 3 and 4. You see like this moment where Jesus is baptized, right? And then he goes into the wilderness for 40 days and he's fasting and praying and Satan comes to him, right? You guys remember this story? Oh, sweet. Adelie remembers. and Jesus is there. Satan comes and he's like, if you're the Son of God, turn these stones to bread. The enemy is constantly trying to get us and God himself to try to prove who he is. Why? Because the moment you engage in that battle, it reveals that you're not convinced of it yourself. And Jesus, at the beginning of his ministry, Satan is like, oh, you're the Son of God? You haven't done really anything. Go ahead. Turn these stones to bread. Prove it. If this is who you are, then this means you can prove it. Just go ahead. And it's fascinating to watch throughout Jesus' life remove himself from the moments when people are trying to hold him over their circumstances. And over years, like with pastoring and walking with people, it's fascinating. People in like really difficult, like not to minimize people's struggles and what they're going through. Do you understand? Like they're in the worst of the worst. And this thing will rise up in people's hearts that try to hold God according to their definition of their circumstances. Like, oh, if you're good, then that means that this thing wouldn't have happened to me. And instead, what God does is he invites us into relationship with him where we experience him. And from that position, it actually changes not just how we see our circumstances, but it begins to change our circumstances, not because God's trying to prove anything, but because you get him. He is the reward, not your fixed circumstances. Like the invitation is into relationship with the creator, the source of everything. And so in this moment, this thief is like, oh, go ahead and prove you're the Christ. And Jesus' heart is just like, man, you have no idea what's taking place right now. Like you have no idea what I'm actually doing for you. And you're wanting me to stop all of eternity to prove my goodness to you, but I'm actually in the middle of proving it to you right now. If you could just step into relationship with me, you would be able to see from a different perspective. It's a really fascinating context. And my invitation is if you're in this place, if you find yourself like this thief, that you would choose a different heart posture. We're going to read in a moment. That's not my main thing, but let's keep going. It says this, but the other criminal that was hanging on the other side of Jesus answered, rebuked him, saying, do you not even fear God, seeing you are under the same condemnation? He's just like, what are you saying? You're also on the cross. Like, what do you mean? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong. He's like, you are crazy. You're literally in the like consequences of your own choices. He didn't do anything. You guys are in the same boat. You're trying to get him to prove himself to you. It's just like, be a little self-aware. That's what he's got to say to the guy. But this is his response. He turns, right? And then he said to Jesus, this is verse 42, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, assuredly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. You read this and I feel like so much, like in the church, we overcomplicate what God actually hands to us. He didn't ask for some sinner's prayer. He didn't ask him to go through the litany of his past and do you renounce your life of criminality? thief about to die on the cross? Are you, like, he doesn't go through all of that. All he's looking for is a heart that would turn in, like, out of desperation. This is why he could say, like, any who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. Like, literally, he just turns, like, he's not even asking for forgiveness, really. He's just like, don't forget me. Can you please try to remember me? I realize, like, I am going to die. My life is over. I'm in the consequences of all my terrible choices. Just don't forget me. That's all Jesus needed to work with. Jesus, I love this. He's painfully aware of the thoroughness of redemption found in what he's about to engage in. He's about to die. He's about to go take the keys to death, hell, and the grave. He's convinced. He's already prophesied his resurrection after 3 days, right? Break this temple down, in 3 days I'll raise it up again. Like, he knew the story. He knew what was about to take place and the shift in history that was about to take place. Jesus is so convinced of what is about to take place that all he needs is someone to, out of a cry, out of chaos, it didn't even matter. Just don't forget me. He's like, that's all I needed. I got you. You're going to be with me in paradise. I think sometimes we live life a little too complicated in this realm. We have too many hoops we need people to jump through. Like, okay, I hear that you want a fresh start. I hear this. Okay, but I need you to do this first, and then I'm going to need you to take care of this, and then I need you to do this. The reason why Jesus can do this is because it's not something he's trying to conjure up. He doesn't need, it's not transactional. He doesn't need the person to do a bunch of stuff. It's because it's his nature. And this person is just turning to look at Jesus, recognizing who he is, and he's just like, just don't forget me. Like, he can't help. Jesus can't help but extend forgiveness and restoration in this moment. Because it's who he is. It's out of his nature in this way. It's wild to think that no matter how far you go, no matter how many steps away from Jesus you've taken, no matter how many things you've said, no matter how desperate your attitude is, Jesus is literally following you right behind you, step by step. And the moment you turn around, Jesus, he is right there to grab you and be like, yes, you're with me. Like, it just doesn't matter. He's literally like, the idea that someone could live their entire life and in the last 3 seconds before he's about to die, Jesus, he's like, that's all I needed. You're mine. I got you. This is who he is. This is the God that we serve, the God that extends redemption to the very, very, very end without any hoops you have to jump through, without any religious hoopla, without all of the stuff. It's all gone in that moment. All he needed was for this person to just say, just don't forget me. Just remember me, please. That's the first thing. I think that so much, like, we have a hard time understanding this piece. And so we actually live our life in a space away from God because we don't truly have faith that this is what he's handing to us. Like, you're struggling with something, whatever. It could be addiction stuff. It could be just attitudes. It could be just perspectives, whatever the stuff is that is in your life that you are painfully aware of, that you're wrestling with, the questions, all of the things. And you're not convinced of his position to you in this way. And so what happens is you want to turn, but you're like, hold on, let me turn. Let me go through some steps first. I need to probably go to church for a few Sundays. I need to probably do this, I got to go through these things a few times first. And then after I start to feel comfortable with myself, I'll ask you to forgive me. When I get more comfortable with, I feel a little washed up. I feel a little cleaned up. There is no self-cleaning you can do to qualify you for this exchange. It is purely what he did on the cross through his death and resurrection. It's because of who he is. It's literally his identity that we get to step into and receive and be partakers of. I think that like that idea is hard for us to swallow because we want to participate in it a little bit. We want to feel like we did something. I got my life together. I finally did it. I struggled hard. You know what I mean? I woke up, I was disciplined, whatever, 75 hard or whatever the thing is that always happens at the beginning of every year. And people that, it's just like new year, new you kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I did it. I got 40 days. I did this thing or whatever. Jocko, 4:30 a.m., the posts. You're up and working out. Like you want to feel like you are doing something. And the truth is you can't do enough. You never would be able to. I think this sort of grace, some of us have lived life experiencing forgiveness at an early age. Maybe you grew up going to church. Maybe you weren't the person that ran away from God. Maybe you weren't the person that like spent your life doing whatever the heck you want and then eventually turning back to Jesus. I mean, that was kind of me. That's a little bit of my story. As much of internal torment and issues that I went through, I loved God at a really early age, and I experienced the benefit of that. Do you know what's really hard? Is when I look at other people's lives. And then in just a moment, they can just say, I'm sorry, and it's all gone. 50 years of just terrible choices, just wrecking shop. And they don't even have to do anything. They just say, don't forget me. And they get all of what they get the same thing I get. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, because it's who he is. It's not based on what I did or didn't do, and it's not based on what this other person did or didn't do. It's purely based on who God is. It's his nature. He is a God who forgives. He is just and he's merciful. It is in his identity. And any person that turns and chooses relationship with him, chooses, God, just don't forget me. He's like, that's it. That's all I needed. You're mine. That person's life might be filled with consequences that I don't have to experience. And they might be in the midst of that stuff. And that's their process and journey. But the truth is, they're forgiven, they're adopted, they're loved, they're brought into the family. They have the same access to the fullness of God that I have. I don't get more Holy Spirit than they do. They get as much Holy Spirit as I get. The same God that raised Jesus from the dead is alive and inside of you right now. Like you have to understand that the moment you turn to Christ, you have access to the entire package. Because he didn't hand you something, he gave you himself. Do you understand? Like you turn and you receive him. And because it's him that you're receiving, you get the fullness of forgiveness. You don't just get a portion of the forgiveness. You don't get just forgiveness for the one thing that you kind of apologized for. You aren't really sure. And like, I'm kind of sorry. He's like, nope, here it is. You get to wear my righteousness. You get to wear my holiness. This is who I brought you in. It's all I need. You are adopted. You're mine. You're my child now. You're my son. You're my daughter. And that sense of transformation, that sense of we are adopted in is so powerful. It's sort of the next step. Right? So you have this, we experience this portion from him, okay? But there's this verse that I love because of the cool things. It's really hard in this context. It's a verse that says, as he is, 1 John, right? As he is what? So are we in this world. And what that means is who Jesus is. That is what I'm supposed to be walking in here. I've stepped in and I've received the fullness from God, right? It's who he is. I've received forgiveness. I've received restoration. I've received reconciliation. I've received love. Not like a portion of love. I've received the fullness of it. I've received the entire thing. Because I get him, I get all of him. And then I turn around and this person betrays my trust. have to do these things before I'll forgive you. And the truth is, we're called to walk in the same manner that he is. If he's forgiveness, what does that mean about me? What does that mean? It means I'm meant to walk as forgiveness. Not I'm meant to dole out forgiveness to whomever I feel like is worthy. It doesn't mean I give forgiveness just to the people that I like, the people that I think qualify, the people that are kind to me, the people that treat me the way that I want to be treated, the people that are fit the description of whom I think deserves forgiveness. No, I'm meant to actually walk as forgiveness in this world. That means when people walk up to me, what do they experience? Forgiveness. Now, I just want to throw this out because whenever inevitably we talk about this sort of thing, people are always like, well, what about, they want to throw out their caveats. Trust and forgiveness are two different things. But I will say this, oftentimes people will justify unforgiveness and call it broken trust, and it's not, it's actually unforgiveness. I will say that. The more I've walked with people in dealing with broken relationships and trust and forgiveness, I'm like, oh yeah, forgiveness and trust is not the same thing. And they're like, ha, you see, it's not the same thing. And then you get into the weeds with them, and really what you hear from them is unforgiveness and bitterness, not trust or broken trust. See, there's something about me walking with someone, okay? I face this individual, the worst of the worst. You fill in the blank, who you think is the worst of the worst in society, okay? Fill it in. Any number of people we could use, any moniker like we could use to describe the worst of the worst. This person, my heart posture to them is one of love and forgiveness, even if I can recognize in the same thing that you would be unsafe with my children. Like, I'm not going to, threaten the lives of my children with you and the pattern of broken choices in your life. It doesn't change my heart posture of love and forgiveness to you. I can recognize the eternal person that this individual is, the adopted child of God, in their broken, addicted state. The patterns and the consequences of their life might be such that this person, this individual, they don't get access to my home. It doesn't change my heart posture towards them. And what I keep hearing in society, honestly, from believers is justifying unforgiveness, and they call it, I don't trust you, but really it's hatred and it's unforgiveness and it's bitterness to the worst of the worst. This person, when they talk to me, should experience love. They shouldn't experience a closed fist. They shouldn't experience a door slamming in their face. They should experience love. They should experience forgiveness, even if I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to invite you into my home. It doesn't change the actual heart posture that they receive from me. Are you guys hearing me? This is what Jesus is exemplifying in this moment. And what's powerful about it, you need to see, the way Jesus is looking at this criminal is he understands in the moment, you're dead in a very short minute. You're going to be standing in heaven, and all of the trauma in your life, all of the poverty in your life that led you to this life, all of the things, all of the pain of the stuff that happened to you, and all of the pain of your choices and the brokenness, your broken perspective about you, the self-justification and the reasons why you've done what you've done, all of that gets peeled away. And the beauty of who this person was originally designed and created to be, fully restored, will be standing there before the Father. And you will have the opportunity to stand face to face with the worst of society who have experienced redemption in that same state. Can you imagine the heart posture, the heart change when you step into heaven and you see someone from history that you think didn't make it, and they're standing there in a fully redeemed picture of who God designed them to actually be? Could you stomach that? See, we dress up this attitude, and we call it trust We call it wisdom. We call it boundaries. We call it anything we want to justify separating our life and distancing ourselves from the people we don't like. And I'm not saying you have to go be best friends with people that have betrayed your trust. That's not what I'm saying. But there's an actual call to not only come and experience Jesus this way, but then to recognize I'm the one who's actually carrying this picture of redemption to people around me. It changes how I talk to people. It changes my attitude towards people. It changes the way that I engage with people in my business, my friends, family. It changes the tone of my voice when someone comes in and they start talking about something I don't like. It changes how I respond to them. And the love and the forgiveness and the mercy that extends and exudes from my life. Why? Because I said, God, if this is who you are, this is who I'm going to be. If this is what I've experienced from you, this is what I want people to experience from my life. It changes things. It changes your impact into people and into friendships and into relationships. You guys doing okay? Yeah. Okay.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure, yes.
All right, I know this is not what you do think, but
That's okay.
my question is if someone, let's say, people are at that crossroad where they're not sure if they're going to accept them or if they have their doubts, what do you say to somebody that says, well, something about a sick kid? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
How do you, that's done nothing.
yeah,
That's too young to accept God in their life. 2-year-old, 3-year-old has leukemia or something like that.
yeah.
Maybe they got stage 4 cancer. How do you express to them,
Yeah.
to have faith knowing that this child is dying? How do you make them believe that there is a God?
Yeah. First off,
That's just a question I've always wanted to ask.
yeah, no, this is like where these things get tested and met out. And like the real complexity and the real difficulty in life. I mean, it's not even just that. You could take that same dilemma, right? And you begin to apply it to a lot of different scenarios and situations that really challenge that. The truth is there's a couple of things that I think is really important. Is God is not interested in proving himself through circumstances only. And that's a really hard pill to swallow because we want to do that. We want this one thing to prove who God is. Does that make sense? So one, it's a difficult dilemma where we're the one faced with that. And the temptation is to say, God, if you're good, this should happen or this shouldn't happen. His goodness being defined by my individual circumstance or by my individual situation. The truth is that there's an enemy who has been defeated on the cross, but is still active and attempting to undermine the expansion of the kingdom. And it's a deeper theological dilemma, or not dilemma, but a deeper theological understanding to recognize that Jesus, Jesus was there, technically. This is before. But at the beginning of creation, if I can just paint a little bit of a story. Right, you have the earth. It says that the earth was formless and void, which actually means in chaos. It says the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the deep. And in that space, he says, let's do something about this. So he creates a garden. He creates the earth. He goes through this whole progression, puts Adam and Eve in the garden and says, be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth and have dominion. And the word have dominion there, it actually means to bring peace out of chaos. The original design and purpose for mankind on this planet was to restore the planet into a place of peace. And if you really even want to get even deeper theologically, right, when you look at the story of Lucifer being cast out of heaven with a third of the angels, we don't really know where he went, but pretty theologically, you can see that there is a context where God doesn't create things in chaos, but if the world or the planet was in chaos, there is an idea that there was chaos happening here on this planet. And God's purpose and design of restoration was to take this thing and actually put someone in his image who Satan wanted to be but was not, was actually implemented to expand the garden and actually restore this place to a place of beauty and harmony that reflected heaven itself. Guys, the earth is our inheritance. You understand, like, we were actually designed and created to establish heaven here. So what happens is they sin, the authority gets handed back to Satan, chaos happens for thousands of years, and the effects of sin look like the enemy having permission and authority to do and to wreak havoc across the planet. And so there's natural flowing consequences to the broken cycle in that context. Jesus is called the second Adam. Why? Because he's actually restoring what was lost in the first Adam. And so what happens is in the restoration of what Jesus came to do, the death and resurrection specifically, he dies, he goes to hell, takes the power of death, hell, and the grave from Satan, okay? He's resurrected. It breaks the curse. And in that moment, he says, in the Great Commission, he says, all authority in heaven and on earth have been given to me. You, therefore, go make disciples of nations. And so there's a transference of authority from Satan back to Jesus. But in that instance, it's actually on us. And so what that actually means, when in the Lord's Prayer, when he says, pray this, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That is fundamentally our call. When it talks about expanding the kingdom, our role as believers is to take back ground. And it's not actually taking ground from the enemy. Do you understand this? It's restoring the kingdom to its rightful place. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Our role as believers is not actually to go and to take a kingdom of darkness and turn it into a kingdom of light. It's to go into a dark room and turn the light on. Our role as believers is to actually be light in a kingdom to restore it to its... There is one kingdom and it's God's kingdom. And it's our job. If you look into the world and you see a space of darkness, it's because believers have not done their job in restoring it to its proper place. And so in instances where you have children that wake up with a crazy disease or cancer, or like the 2-year-old that has leukemia who's on their deathbed and dying, these are results of the enemy doing his job. And it's our role as believers to step in and bring restoration, to bring hope, to bring life. Those circumstances are not actually defining God's goodness. God actually put people in this place to bring hope and restoration into those circumstances. And that means it doesn't guarantee that the cancer is going to go in that moment. Why? Because there is a war that's taking place. And there are casualties in that context. And it's heartbreaking and it's heart-wrenching. It does not change God's actual heart. And I think what's one of the difficult things to wrestle with is 1 Corinthians 13, at the end of 1 Corinthians 13, it says, we see through a glass dimly, but then we'll see face to face. There's a lot of circumstances that we look at that we cannot see the full picture of. Do you understand? We can't see it. We don't understand the ramifications of an individual's life, or when and how they died, or sickness, or these different components that we are wrestling over, that we are praying for healing, we're praying for restoration. Like, these things are real. But in the end, one day we will see clearly how God is restoring and bringing goodness out of it. All things work together for good to them that love God and are called according to his purposes. And I might only be able to see short-sighted. Does that make sense? Like, I can only see so far. Like, the extent of it is the pain that I'm in watching my child die. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's all I can see. I can't see past that. The hope and the promise of God is that he's with you in the middle of that. And our life isn't just about the 3 years, 50 years, 100 years that we have on this planet. Our life is connected into an eternal plan and purpose for this realm and for eternity. And what happens in those moments, this is where, like, this is when I see stuff like that, to me, my heart breaks, because Jesus promised He said, those that believe that come after me are going to do the same works I've done and greater works still. Have I seen cancer healed? Totally. Have I seen deaf ears open? 100%. I've prayed for deaf ears and they have not opened. And I've prayed for deaf ears and I've seen them open. Why? I don't know. We are mid-story. We are in the middle of a battle that we're called to take ground. And this is the problem with these two thieves. Is one is saying, Jesus, regardless of my circumstances, I want you. And the other is saying, I'll only take you if you prove it through my circumstances. You see how those two attitudes change, how you engage in the same circumstances. One, I still get Jesus regardless of what happens. Do you understand? Like I actually get him. Now, I can tell you going through terrible circumstances with God is a whole lot better than going through terrible circumstances without him. And in the end, my life is connected into an eternal story. And so this is, it doesn't answer the individual situation. It doesn't fix terrible circumstances. It doesn't change the individual nature of what someone might be going through. But I do know that he's called us to bring hope to those moments. He has called us to bring comfort to those moments. He has called us to bring healing to those moments. And part of the journey and the process is we are walking along this road. And this is where Psalms 23 and verses like that, where it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. Your rod and your staff, you comfort me, right? You're walking with me through these circumstances. And I think that this is the heart of what I'm talking about, where Jesus is inviting us into him and relationship with him, not just into an exchange or a fix to the circumstance. I mean, the number of people, think about, Jesus said it this way one time. People came to him and they were asking for a miracle. They were asking to be fed. And he's like, it's a wicked and adulterous generation that asks for a sign. He was a guy super intense, right? But he had just multiplied the bread. He had just done crazy miracles and done all of this crazy stuff. The point is you can come to Jesus and ask for a miracle and you walk away with what? A miracle. Or you can come to Jesus and ask him for him and you walk away with what? The God of the universe walking with you. You know? And in that place, there's incredible miracles that happen, and there's an incredible road and a process that there may be no guarantees necessarily. I do know we're called to increase the kingdom. We're called to bring more hope. You understand? So I think that it is an important thing. And I know it doesn't answer all the questions. It doesn't answer all of the struggle in this spot. But I do know that I would like to believe, and I've seen this as well, that the more that we take ground, the more that we see the kingdom come, that we do see a transformation in those circles. And we should, and we do. You can actually, I don't have time this morning. Again, I love this stuff. I can show you historically where that is actually the story of history. Many people don't realize this. The people preach this message that is getting worse and worse and worse, but statistically, everything is getting better and better and better, and has since Jesus' day. You can track it historically by historical accounts. Despite some of the worst things that are taking place currently, right now, that you could look in around the world and see. If you look at history, it actually is everything by every metric. Death, disease, terrible governments, persecution, all of the things, historically, it's actually better and better and better, and has continued to grow and increase in that. So we're mid-story is the end. Can we stand up and we're going to pray? I want to, I know we kind of went off, but I want to bring us back. No. I actually like questions and answers. If you come to KLSM, it's my favorite part because I actually really love it. So it doesn't always fit on a Sunday morning, but it doesn't bother me at all. I really do appreciate it. Let's do this. I want us to pray. There's sort of two positions here that we kind of looked at. Obviously there's the individual, right? Or the two individuals that are on the cross with Jesus, one who's externalized their problems, one who's saying, Jesus, I want you. Then you might be right now, you may have grown up in church, you may have been around Jesus your whole life, and yet you have never taken the time, or you've kind of done it in measure, but you haven't turned and just said, Jesus, I actually want you. And made it that personal shift where you're actually, no, I'm done running away from you. I'm done trying to get away from you. I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn and I'm going to step into relationship with you. And the second is if you have been following him, have been a beneficiary of what the cross was, and you find yourself stuck in this place of struggling, walking out that same thing that you've received, extending forgiveness in a Christ-like way, extending love in a Christ-like way, actually walking in a way where when people meet with you, they actually encounter the nature of God. I think that's the invitation. There's two this morning. So I want you to do this. You can just close your eyes for a second. You can just pray, set your heart on him. If you're in this room and you are saying, man, I have never personally decided to follow Jesus. I haven't done that. I've been around it. I've heard about it. I'm here on an Easter Sunday morning, and yet I haven't said, yes, Jesus, I actually want you. If that's you, I want you to pray with me this morning. If that's you, if you I'm going to look up, and if you just want to give me a little wave, I just want to know that I'm praying with you. And awesome, come on. Let's just all pray together. It's really simple. There's no magic hoops to jump through. It's a heart change. It's an attitude. It's your decision to receive what Jesus did on the cross. Simply, you can just repeat after me. We can just all do this together. Jesus, this morning, I'm making this my prayer. Remember me. I was headed away, but I'm turning and facing you this morning. I receive you. Forgive me for this, my choices. Yeah, I receive you this morning. Be the Lord of my life. Be the King of my life. Yeah. Come on. Thank you, Jesus. If you are in here this morning, you're feeling the conviction of the Holy Spirit that you are holding on to unforgiveness, you're holding on to pain, you're holding on to these different things. Just simply want you to lay it down at his feet this morning. You can use your own words. You can follow after me. I'm going to pray a few things, but Jesus, I lay this at your feet this morning. The unforgiveness, the bitterness, the standard that I'm trying to hold over other people's head. Like Savannah said this morning, God, I want to learn to be a slave to all. Jesus, I repent for that. I receive your forgiveness. And this morning, I am choosing forgiveness. I'm choosing your nature would flow through me. I think we could all pray this, God, that every person that encounters me would be encountering you, God. Every person that I talk to would encounter and feel your love, Jesus. Every person I talk to would feel your forgiveness flowing through me. Would feel restoration and reconciliation. In Jesus' name.